Hey, welcome back to Reddit Cheating Wife, the best channel for cheating stories. Like and subscribe to the channel for cheating stories like this.
You cheat with the guy I hate the most, I can play that too. So I went to use my wife's phone, and she had Facebook up, and she was talking to this jerk with whom I used to be friends. A little history on the guy: he wasn't from the old area, so we became friends over basketball and I would defend him from problems, but as time passed, I saw he was into ladies younger than him, so I couldn't be friends with or affiliated with him. We got into a fight, he had to have his jaw wired shut, and that was the last of him. So my former wife was chatting to him, and since she was a little naive, she didn't realize he was flirting with her. He suggested they meet for coffee on Wednesday, and she accepted. At the time, she and I were going through a hard stretch. We married at a young age of 19, but I felt she was the one for me, and we've had 3 children since then. I phoned my supervisor and explained that I need Wednesday off due to family circumstances, and he says it's alright. They decided to meet at Starbucks after I read her texts again. So, when it was time for them to meet, I pretended to leave to work but waited outside a block away, saw he picked her up, and went to a downtown Starbucks. I follow them there and remain in the vehicle. At the same time, I'm messaging all of my pals, telling them that the old me has returned and explaining what's going on. 2 of my friends are attorneys, and they gladly assisted me in drafting a separation agreement and initiating divorce proceedings. I follow the out of Starbucks and notice that they're heading to his home. Now I simply park and wait 2 minutes before knocking on the door, and when I knock, I hide down so they can't see me through the peephole, and when I hear the door open up, I run. I storm in, and he stares at me as if he's seen a ghost. I see my ex-wife in her bra, and all I can say is, "So this is what you do in your spare time?" I'm leaving. She pursues me outside, weeping, claiming she has no idea what's going on with her, that they didn't have, but I swiftly ordered her to off, "Don't come back to the home, and if I see you with him, I'll ask him what will happen." As I'm going, he tosses her out, and I can see he's afraid. To be honest, I've done horrible things in the past, but he knows me, he knows the stuff I've done, and he knows what I'm capable of. I go to her Facebook page and see a post from him that says, "Stay the away from me." She attempts to return inside the home, and I warn her that if she goes any farther into the house, I would tell her whole family what she did. She comes out weeping, demanding her belongings, and I simply dumped that rubbish outside and told her to. One of my friends, who happens to be a policeman, came to my home and said the piece of filed a restraining order against me and my wife, requiring us to remain 100 feet away from him. He was aware of what was going on and told me how word got out to certain people about how the piece of has a screwed up fetish and how he was avoiding some individuals and how he was dropped off in the old area after he filed the restraining orders. I told him I wanted a restraining order against my wife until we divorced. Soon after, I informed the kids that we won't be seeing mom for a while, and I phone her from an app, telling her that she can explain herself to the kids and that she can have the kids on the weekend as long as she stays away from me. I cut her off before she starts the entire "I'm sorry, forgive me" nonsense. As we go through the divorce, we had to go through an online course for the kids, which was the most meaningless $20 I've ever spent. We get everything sorted, the court agreed that the prenup is legitimate, thus the doesn't receive any alimony. We sell the home and share the proceeds 50-50. I used half of my money to acquire a great loft and still had enough money to get a new automobile. We're in court now, and the judge asks, "Do you guys really have everything settled?" I'm happy to say yes, but she bursts out crying again, saying she's not this and that, and as a result, we had to go to child support, where kids have to say where they want to live, and I considered telling them how mommy doesn't believe in Santa Claus, but I didn't. I agreed weekends to have the kids since she didn't work and she went to live with her parents, who have more than enough money to support all of the kids, but because of my job, I can't pick up 2 of them from school and keep a 2-year-old at my workplace, but I was glad. When her younger sister came over to bring off the kids, she inquired how I was doing. I quickly took advantage of it and told her how lonely and unhappy I was since I had lost the one true love of my life. Her sister stayed over and cooked dinner for the kids and she remained after to speak. I told her how much I missed her sister, but what she did isn't forgivable, and she agreed, and then we began kissing, which led to I started working out to get in better shape and maintain a relationship with her sister until one day when I FaceTimed her and my ex-wife was nearby and she heard my voice and all I heard was them 2 arguing about how she betrayed her and how my ex apparently told her to see if there was any chance of them getting back together. To be honest, I had forgiven my ex-wife, but I didn't want to speak to or see her. Her relatives took turns bringing the kids over, and then I told her cousins the tale, and with one of them, I began to be FWB with them. My ex-wife then came over once, but I ordered her to wait outside since she is not permitted inside. She attempted to explain that she had gone to counseling and that she was a new person who simply wanted a chance. I forgave her, but she began to irritate me since I was over her. I accidentally mentioned how I slept with her cousin, which caused her to scream, so I sent her outside to cry. Now I've moved on, I'm FWB with 2 gals. I date either of them, and I'm still young, just 29 years old. My ex-wife had gotten into bad shape while I was constantly going to the gym and working on myself. I mean, I miss a lot of what she's done for me, but what she did was wrong, and I'll never forget it. Story 2. Wife had 3-year affair with her college professor. She claims she was brainwashed by him. My wife and I have been married for over a decade. We're both in our late 30s. She decided a few years ago that she wanted to return to college and acquire her master's degree. We both agreed that it was a fantastic idea. Our marriage was wonderful, and we were both quite pleased. It was the most joyful I'd ever been. When she returned to school, her life certainly became busier since she had more on her plate. Her conduct began to shift after a few months. She'd stay out later than usual to study in the university library, or she'd get together with classmates for other projects. She'd sometimes forget something at the office and have to go retrieve it, even if it was late. I had a hunch something wasn't right, but I couldn't prove it. Everything she said made perfect sense. I would sometimes double-check items or look for contradictions. But there were none. Everything seemed to be normal. I just assumed I was being paranoid. I sat down to check my emails one Saturday morning. We have a home computer that she sometimes uses for schoolwork. I realized she had failed to log out of her account from the previous night. I see a lot of emails from one individual before I log her out. I wasn't familiar with the name. So I checked her Facebook and Instagram profiles to see if she knew this person. Nope. So I looked him up on the internet, and it turns out he was her college professor. He was in his 50s, married, and had 3 teenage children. He seemed to be happily married. I was relieved and didn't give it much thought after that. The emails seemed to be harmless. When I was in college, I was always exchanging emails with teachers. I never observed anything strange after that. I thought I was being paranoid once again. After a while, life becomes easier. She was really getting into her stride with school, and she wasn't as anxious or busy as she used to be. We had more time together and began constructing a home. Life was virtually on autopilot. Until the horror started. It was a Thursday, and I decided to come home early and surprise her because I wanted to take her out to dinner at a new restaurant that had just opened. I spotted a vehicle pulling out of my driveway as I was going down our street. We passed each other, and I recognized him right away. It was one of her former college professors. So I went into the home right away and saw my wife standing in the kitchen wearing just a towel. She was so taken aback that she didn't know what to say. She seemed as though she was stumbling over her words when she asked why I was at home. I quickly inquired as to why her professor had just left our home and why she was dressed in a towel. She told me I was being dramatic and that nothing had occurred. So I walked right up to our bedroom, despite her attempts to stop me. When I arrived in our room, it was clear what had occurred. I informed her that if she did not tell me everything, I would call his wife. She finally broke down and revealed everything. They'd been having an on-again, off-again romance for 3 years. She said that it began the semester after she left his class. However, she claimed that he brainwashed her and that she didn't want to do it. She said he was in a position of power, despite the fact that he was no longer her professor, and that she was coerced into a connection over a 3-year period. It's been a week since I discovered the news. When my wife was at her parents' home the following morning, I took my belongings out and hired a divorce attorney. I'm starting to feel like a zombie. None of this seems to be genuine. My wife has been constantly messaging, phoning, and emailing me, pleading for forgiveness and a second chance. Her family is also attempting to contact me in order to persuade me to give her another chance. I eventually blocked her on everything and her family today. Fortunately, I have an excellent support network, and everyone has been quite helpful. I'm planning to make an appointment with a therapist next week to get things started. I understand that healing will take time, and I know that I deserve better. Please accept my apologies for the lengthy article. This was something I really wanted to get off my chest.